Welcome back to the Compass One Healthcare Podcast Studio. I am your host, Tommy Kane, and I've been waiting for this podcast discussion almost all day. And it's not just because it's the last one of the long day we've been out here, but also because it's it's really interesting topic, and I'm excited to dive into it. For this podcast, we are going to be discussing the changing the game, AI and HC support services. Artificial intelligence, as we all know, is rapidly changing the healthcare support services technology ecosystem. On this podcast, we're going to chat about the applications happening today to drive support service, performance, and safety in healthcare. And it is my pleasure to welcome my two experts onto my cool book stage here, right, in my nice set. Saima Khan, she's the SVP of Healthcare Digital. Saima, thanks for being here. And Daniel Kuhner, the VP of Software Engineering for Healthcare Digital. Daniel, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So Saima, let's jump right into it. As a leader in healthcare support services, technology and innovation, how are you thinking about AI at Healthcare Digital? And where do we even start? AI is such a new field, but also it's crazy where the possibilities go.
Yeah. There's probably not one day that goes, now that I don't talk about AI.
Yeah.
It's become such a buzzword. And I think a lot of people are, wait, what exactly is AI as it relates to support services? So in healthcare digital, to me, it's no different than any other technology that we look at.
Okay.
We have main goal. And the main goal is how do we use technology, whether it's AI, especially AI, just given the capabilities, to help accelerate the efficiency for our operators.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do leveraging AI and all other sorts of technology to make their life easier? And it's not just even the operators. There's a lot of people that in support services that we'll interact with on a day-to-day. It could be nursing. It could be just family and friends, people like us that are in the hospital, other just hospital employees. So what can we do from an AI standpoint to make them more efficient, give them more time back in their day so they can focus on what is the key for us is patient satisfaction, spend more time with the patient. So that's how we're looking at it. Operational efficiency, give them more time back in the day to really focus on those tasks that are giving them the opportunity to spend more time with patients.
And all that ultimately just is better for the patient.
Yeah.
Talks about patient outcomes.
Correct.
Daniel, let's talk about some common AI terms that we've all heard.
Yeah.
Can you help us understand what we're really talking about when we say AI? I mean, everybody knows artificial intelligence, but what does that mean in your workspace?
Yeah. So obviously AI buzzword, everybody's talking about it. Means a lot of different things to kind of a lot of people.
Right.
When you break it down, you have artificial intelligence, which is the more overarching kind of global use of AI in the sense of it's a real replacement of human actions and kind of a human being where a computer or a robot will actually be taking the action of a person. A good example of this is going to be like a self-driving vehicle,
Right.
or something along those lines where it's actually doing the action for the person.
How are you?
Then you move on to something that's a little bit more applicable to kind of what we're doing in healthcare digital is something of augmented intelligence. Now, augmented intelligence is something really cool and really interesting to what we're doing in the sense of it's not necessarily a replacement of a human activity. It's an enhancement of a human activity.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Now, where that really comes into play would be something like reduction of clicks within an application, automation of tasks. Now, that could be a meal order agent, or potentially, right? Something that is actually going to be supporting a operator in the act of placing meal orders.
So you have to.
And then if you move on to some other terms where you may have generative AI. Now, generative AI was sort of in a way the start of all of this big time kind of AI buzz. Now, generative AI is where artificial intelligence is generating content and they're actually creating something new. Now, you can think of ChatGPT as a really good example.
Right.
If you go to ChatGPT and say, create a menu, right? With images, it'll create a menu related to kind of Southwest cuisine with full images. It'll respond back with totally new text related to that image. So it's a creation of new things. If you move on to recommendation engines, now recommendation engines are a cornerstone of everything we're really trying to accomplish within the healthcare space.
Okay.
A couple of quick examples to that would be recommending meals, right, to a patient,
Okay.
or potentially recommending an appropriate task for an EVS operator to clean or automate it. And then finally, probably my favorite topic is AI agents. Now, Saima will touch on AI agents a little bit more and we'll discuss this, but an AI agent is something that is supporting an operator in performing a specific task for that operator. Now, this comes in many different kind of flavors, but the most kind of obvious one to the food area would be the actual placing of meal orders. So right now today, you got to go through an application. It's a little laborious where there's lots of clicks. You got to choose a menu. You got to choose a patient, right? Choose a room, all of the different elements. Right. Now, what an agent will do is our operator could just say, place a meal order for room 312. And the agent will connect to the EMR, connect to the dining software, and then it'll actually place a meal order for that patient based on a recommendation. So you really see a complete end-to-end flow and really a closing of the loop across all the different areas of AI within our application.
Simon, let's talk about some practical applications. Daniel kind of lead in on a couple of them, but what's the single most valuable AI use case you've actually put in production for support services this year?
Yeah, that's a great question to bring it to life a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'll introduce you the concept of a AI virtual assistant. We call her Heidi.
Okay.
Within our ecosystem, she's part of the Compass One healthcare digital platform. So think of it as a virtual assistant that sits on top of the platform to help accelerate some of these tasks. So great example of how we've put it into practice this year is there's a really great knowledge repository that's been built by our Morrison healthcare partners.
Okay.
Over the last 10 years, just guidance for operators for My Dining specifically.
Yes.
So if you're a new patient dining associate, you're a seasoned operator, new operator, and there's this great documentation, really great that they've built. You can get things such as, hey, how do I place a patient meal order? So we put this virtual assistant, Heidi, on top of that. And the idea being, think of it as a something like a chat GPT for My Dining, where they can just go straight into there. They could be walking around the hospital. They could be sitting at the call center and they have a question and they need a really fast answer. Rather than parsing themselves through 10 years worth of documentation that's been built, they put the question right there and then into Heidi, into My Dining, hey, how do I place a patient meal order? And it'll be conversational. It'll respond back. They can put another question. And so it's been just a really nice way to start introducing AI into our operations for our operators to get comfortable with it. It's sitting on top of documentation they're familiar with, but it's helping to accelerate just getting some responses back for them to be able to do their job.
And where has this been rolled out so far?
Yeah, so we piloted it with some of our key partners earlier this year, some of our innovation partners, some of our showcase accounts went really well. And in the past month, we rolled it out widely to all My Dining accounts. So that's about 500 plus hospitals. And on a day-to-day basis, we're seeing you keep me honest, the numbers better than I do. There's hundreds of interactions with the associates, putting questions in there. And the beauty of that is the more folks interact, the smarter
it gets.
Yeah. And it'll start to answer back more intelligently. We'll train them, we'll train it better. So it's been really exciting to say, okay, well, let's just take this simple concept, put this, chatbot on top of it, and let's see if people interact. And it's starting to take off.
What about anything else going on in the AI world that you're excited about on your side of the face?
Yeah, really kind of a passion project, I think, for HD for a couple of years really has been our nutrition AI and our tray accuracy initiative.
Which is so important.
So important. I mean, it ties to patient satisfaction. It ties to patient safety. And really what it's doing is it's using computer vision. There's a kiosk installed within the kitchen, and that kiosk takes an image of the tray. That tray image is then tied directly back to our dining software, which ties directly into the EHR. So what it's doing is it's measuring the accuracy of the tray. It's taking a look for allergens, and it's ensuring that what's going out to our patients is actually what they ordered and is safe for them to eat.
Daniel, innovations outside of food and nutrition services, is there anything else out there with the AI world that it's just really excited about it's going to help everybody down the road?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And we've discussed quite a bit about the food side, but on the support services and the EVS side specifically, there is really a focus on how do we make those operations kind of more intelligent?
Yeah.
How do we add in automated workflows? How do we reduce clicks? So where we're going with that is there's a product that's called TaskUp. And TaskUp is really a task management software that manages ad hoc, scheduled, and duty list tasks. And what is really cool about that is where you had something that was paper-based before, where somebody put something on a paper, you don't really know how long it took them. That data is not readily available to anybody and it just goes away.
Right.
So what we can do now is take all of the data where there's thousands of operators today using TaskUp. So if you take thousands of operators closing tasks and how many tasks that is, you really end up building up a tremendous amount of data. So we're taking that data and we're first looking at how do we support our dispatchers where they don't have to go and manually assign a task. They don't have to go think about who to assign a duty list to. We're going to take the data that's derived via TaskUp and say, okay, this operator is well suited to these types of tasks. They're closing these tasks really rapidly and they're very efficient at these tasks, when another operator may be more efficient at a different type of duty list. So we're going to take a look at the data and we're going to start bringing back recommendations. And those recommendations will support our dispatcher to not necessarily use their gut to be assigning this stuff, but have some data-driven decisions to actually make these choices and use data.
For our listeners out there, where should health systems start when they're thinking about implementing this type of innovation? I mean, I know it can be still intimidating for a lot of folks. Where do they start?
Yeah, I mean, I think first is evaluating that whole build versus buy, because the tendency might be, hey, let's just go out and build it. But I think just if I think of the examples that we just talked about for us, it made sense from the My Dining standpoint for us to build that chatbot.
Right.
Obviously, leverage third-party software, but when it comes to nutrition AI, there's a hardware component. There's a lot of training and models. So that made sense for us to more partner with someone and buy that. So I think evaluating what's going to make sense, build versus buy. And then I think second is going to be understanding what you have to do within your environment to be able to implement AI. There's a lot of caution right now, especially in healthcare with, okay, let's be super thoughtful about what we're, incorporating and what is it going to do. So I think thinking through the process, really understanding what your governance model is going to be, who the committees are, what you're looking for as far as sign off, so you can manage it, as opposed to, you don't want it to take years to roll out, let's say, example, a chatbot. So just kind of understanding, I think, what the governance needs to look like and, moving that along, I think.
Thank you both so much for being up here today on our podcast set. I was looking forward to this when I saw it pop up, the AI and the healthcare world and just where it's going and what the possibilities are. And I'm sure if we have this same podcast discussion this time next year, there'll be 10 different new things that you guys have come up with at Healthcare Digital. So thank you very much for being here and enjoy the rest of the summit.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.